Bart and Lisa Simpson had to recognize how difficult it gets when they try to deal with classes of different opinions, when they try to hold a fair trial for Milhouse, in front of all the children who has accused to eat all the food the children had left. In the episode Das Bus, Season 9, Episode 14, are the children on their way to a meeting for children. The bus has a crash and the children strand at a beach on an unknown isle. This parody of The Lord of the Flies, written by William Golding, shows us how much social groups and interaction within these affects our everyday life. In the story The Lord of the Flies are children stranded on an isle as well. They organize themselves and establish a functional system of words and participation for everyone. But Jad, the bad child in the story, corrupts his group and takes over the power in the children group. As he breaks the codes designed for the freedom of speech and participation of everyone on the isle, legitimizes his regime. Golding or Groening or all the other authors, writers, and artists who are playing with social dynamics and interaction at the end, they all have recognized one thing, even if they want or not, the necessity to expound themselves with the theme. So we see that art, which can be seen as a mirror of social circumstance, dedicates its attention to that theme as well. Social interaction happens all around the world, every day, every minute, and every second. Language, EH, is the best example of social interaction because it is the basis of our communication and therefore, like the glue, of our interacting society. Facing these facts, we considerate that this special theme deserves our special attention.
How many people are in your class?
Okay, as I said before, I'm a science teacher, so my job is to teach science to primary students. So I have classes from first primary, who are children of 6 years old, to 6th primary, that are children 12 years old. So in these classes, there are around 24 to 26 students. But then I also teach some extracurricular classes that are Cambridge, and in them there are no more than 12 students, and classes become much easier.
Could you describe the general mood in your class?
I would say the kids are generally very attentive to the teachers, but they can lose sight of the purpose of the class, and they'll start going off into groups and talking, or they can be a little dismissive sometimes.
All right, and let's say it like that. On a scale from 1 to 10, like 1 is the lowest and 10 is like the lowest for never and 10 is the highest for every day, how would you rank the occurring of conflicts of your students?
On a scale from 1 to 10, I would probably say that a conflict arises maybe probably every day, and then if one of them says something inappropriate or they were rude, then they'll apologize to one another. So I really think that they handle it very well.
And is it possible for you to describe like the hierarchies between these students and the social groups, and between the genders and maybe different ethics?
I don't know if there's so much of a hierarchy amongst the kids. I don't feel like maybe one group has a little bit more control over the other. I don't think it's to that extent, but I do feel that, like I said, the girls, they'll go and hang out with the girls. There tends to be, if you do have older kids, you do have some older kids that sort of mentor the other younger kids. So the younger kids or the younger girls will emulate a lot of what they see the older kids doing. That I have noticed. And in that sense, there is a little bit of a hierarchy. But I mean, amongst the social groups, no, I don't believe so.
Where are you teaching exactly?
I teach privately. I have a small private academy in Alama.
Okay. How would you describe the mood in your class?
Most of the time, I think it's quite positive.
How many
quite
different
cheerful.
groups can you observe in your class?
That depends. If we're talking about adults, mainly one or maybe two groups, depending. And with children, it can be as much as 3.
Okay. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being lowest or never, 10 highest or everyday, how would you rank the occurring conflicts of your students?
With children, I suppose the average could be 3 or 4. With adults, 1 or 2, I think.
Are those conflicts regularly related to the social groups?
Sometimes, in the case of children, yes, I think so. You can have more problems with discipline, punctuality, respect for other students with certain groups.
Okay. Can you describe hierarchies between the students and also the social groups in your class?
Yes, I think you can have problems with children because I have children from different schools. And sometimes they form groups depending on which school they come from. Sometimes you can have certain socio-economic groups, maybe a low socio-economic group with parents who aren't really interested in English, or they themselves can't speak or have no interest in English. You can also have a low socio-economic group with really supportive parents who maybe didn't have the opportunity to study themselves, but are very interested in the possibilities in the future for their children. Middle, average socio-economic groups may have both options, but usually are more supportive of their children.
Okay. How do your students solve conflicts?
Well, I try not to allow conflicts to develop in class.
How old are you and what class do you go to?
I'm 11 years old and I study in a public school in Alama, Murcia.
With who do you spend most time in school?
I spend most time with my friends Ainhoa, Maria and Olaya.
How would you describe the atmospheres in your class? Does everyone play with everyone? Or there are little groups?
There are little groups.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
How old are you and what class do you go to?
I am 12 years old. I go to secondary high school.
Do you enjoy going to school?
No, I don't, because I have to study.
How would you describe the atmosphere in your class?
There is a little group and other bigger.
How do you handle situations when there is an argument?
I encourage fun.
How old are you and what class do you go to?
I have 11 years old and I am in 6th of primary.
Okay. Do you enjoy going to school?
Yes, well, more or less, like all the children of my age.
Age. Okay.
Age.
Okay, it's normal.
Okay.
What are your best friends like? Description. Who do you like best? Do you have the same hobbies as your friends?
They are tall, like me, because we love basketball. And also they are friendly and I little crazy.
And a little crazy, that's funny, okay. How do you describe the atmosphere in your class?
I think all the people in class are good friends, but sometimes occur problems, but only in a straight situation.
Okay. How do you handle situations when there is an argument?
Talking with the person who start the argument, and if the thing doesn't fix it, I talk to the teacher.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure to interview you, and that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hola, me llamo Juan y tengo 9 años.
With who do you spend the most time in school?
Con mis amigos.
What are your friends like?
Pablo, André y Pepe. Pablo tiene el pelo marrón y le gusta jugar al fútbol. André tiene gafas y le gusta ir a judo. Y Pepe es alto y le gusta jugar al baloncesto.
Okay. Could you describe the atmosphere in your class? Does everyone play with everyone, or are there little groups?
El ambiente de mi clase es bueno y no hay pequeños grupos porque todo el mundo sale al patio y jugamos todos juntos.
Do you sometimes get into fights or arguments with other students of your class or when spending time on the playground?
Bueno, a veces.
7. What do you feel are mostly the reasons for having an argument?
A mí me enfada que me digas malo.
How do you handle situations when there is an argument?
Cuando hay una pelea, pues llamo a mi profesor.
Do you enjoy going to school?
Yes, because I have fun.
Do you sometimes get into fights or arguments with other students of your class or when spending time on the playground?
No, I don't.
How do you handle situations when there is an argument?
I talk to the teacher.
Since the beginning of mankind, society has been divided in various different social groups. The social groups are the fundamental of social interaction and of human living. Different authors have defined social group, for example, as a group is a social construct, which is clear and confident. Somehow, the members feel connected to each other because all participants of the group are trying to reach the same aim. The interior of the group has structures which determine the collective actions. Abels, 2009, 244. Social groups are involved by social interaction. The interaction for a social group is like fuel for a motor. Social interaction is defined as every form of social action between individuals. Giddens, Fleck and Egger, De Campo, 2006, 107. The school offers a lot of possibilities to do research on social group and group dynamics. Every single class in a school forms a social group. Even in the interior of the class are social groups formed. According to the explanation of social group and social interaction, it is obvious that this definition fits on everyday life in school. The group dynamics is a system of behaviors and psychological processes within a social group or between social groups. The examination of group dynamics can be helpful in order to understand the process of decision-making behavior, rivalry, discrimination, racism, sexism, etc. Baxon, Holter, Knowler, Kailberg, Land X, 2006, 44.
You don't know how you met me, you don't know why you can't turn around and say goodbye. All you know is when I'm with you, I make you free and swim through your veins like a fish in the sea.